Hello, mathematicians. Welcome to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we will be looking again at our daily rectangle. You will need your Number Corner book and a pencil. We will be on page 92 again today, recording rectangles. You can pause the video to get what you need. Today is the 13th. So we will be looking at 13 tiles. We are going to have a look at what rectangles we can make with our 13 tiles. Let's think for a moment. Here are our 13 tiles. How can we push them together to make a rectangle? Let's try a few different things and see if this is what you were thinking. Show a connection if you were thinking we could make one long, skinny rectangle. Yeah, that's good thinking. We've made a long, skinny rectangle with all of our tiles, different numbers of tiles so far. So we can make another long, skinny rectangle with 13 tiles. We have our height of 1 row, and we have our width of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 tiles. We can kind of group them all together as our width of 13 tiles, and then our length, or our height of 1 tile. So how would we label this rectangle? Think about how we labeled our other long, skinny rectangles. Show a connection if you were thinking we could label our rectangle like this. Well, that's good thinking. That shows our 1 row of 13 tiles, or 13 columns. Do you think we could make another rectangle with our tiles? Is anyone thinking probably not? Oh, if you're thinking probably not, you would be correct. Let's try though. Let's give it a try and see what we can do. I'm just going to move these tiles around and see, maybe we could add a second row. Let's try it. We will grab our tiles and kind of move them into a second row until we get a rectangle. Let's see, are we going to get one? Is this a rectangle? Oh, I should see thumbs down. Let's try another row. Let's just see if it'll work. Let's try to move these over, move them around. Is this a rectangle? No. Let's try one more row. Maybe one more row. Let's grab our tiles from over here. One more and I don't have anywhere to put this guy. Is this a rectangle? No, I should see a thumbs down. We can only make one long, skinny rectangle. So let's record this rectangle in our Number Corner books. Open up to page 92. Now on our rectangle review page, we only have 1 row for 13. So let's label our 1 by 13 rectangle, and let's think of some equations we could write to match. Well, we already know we have 1 row of 13, so we'll think of the 13 tiles in that row, and we're not adding any more rows, so plus 0 more rows, plus 0 more rows to equal those 13 tiles. We also know that we have 13 columns of 1, and we could sit and write 1 plus 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 1, but that would take us a really long time. Instead, we can write our 1 row of 13 tiles just one time. 1 times 13. We only have one row. Now, we're going to do 2 more things today. We are going to look at our set of 12 tiles and see how many rectangles we can make. You might have a good idea of how many rectangles we can make if you look at our rectangle review sheet. And then we are going to check your equations from the other day to see how they match your rectangles. Let's jump back over to our magic wall and see what we can do with 12 tiles. All right, mathematicians, what kind of rectangle can we make? You know, I'm thinking about that long, skinny rectangle that we made with 13 tiles and with 11 tiles and 10 tiles and 9 tiles and 8 tiles and really all of our tiles. And I'm wondering if we could make a long, skinny rectangle with 12 tiles too. Do you think we could try it? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Oh, I hope to see a lot of thumbs up. We sure can try it. Let's see what happens when we push our tiles together to make one long, skinny rectangle. Does it work? Do we have a rectangle? Thumbs up or thumbs down? We sure do. Another long, skinny rectangle. How should we label it? Let's count our rows and columns to see. We have one row over here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 columns. So this rectangle is a 1 by 12. 1 row by 12 tiles or 12 columns. Can we make another rectangle? What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, I should see thumbs up. We have 3 rows on our rectangle review. So we know we can make 3 rectangles. I wonder what our other rectangle will look like. Why don't we try to see by trying to create a second row? Let's start to move some tiles. So just like we did when we were kind of playing around with our 13 tiles, let's kind of play around with our 12 tiles and try to make that second row. If I can get the tiles to move. There we go. We'll move our tile over here, working on our second row. We'll just kind of keep working until we make a rectangle. Hopefully we don't have any silly leftover ones like we did before. What do you think? Do we have a rectangle? Oh, I should see some thumbs up. We do have a rectangle. How can we label this one? Well, this rectangle is a little different. So we'll still go by rows and columns, but this time we have 1, 2 rows. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So this will be a 2 by 6 because we see 1, 2 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. You think we could make another one? I should see thumbs up. We have 1 more row. Let's think about this the same way we did before. And let's see if we can just keep adding rows to our rectangle. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to grab some tiles from over here, kind of move them over. Keep moving them over till I have a rectangle. What do you think? Is it a rectangle? Let me erase some of these lines so we can see a little better. I should see a thumbs up. We sure do have a rectangle. How could we label this one? Well, I hope you're thinking by rows and columns again. Let's count our rows. Now we have 1, 2, 3 rows by 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So this rectangle is a 3 by 4 to show our 1, 2, 3 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's label these rectangles on our rectangle review. We can label our first rectangle as a 1 by 12. Our second rectangle was a 2 by 6. And our third rectangle was a 3 by 4. Some equations to match would be 12 plus 0. We have that one row of 12 plus no more to equal 12. And then we could write that dimension again, that label of 1 by 12 to show that one row of 12. For our 2 by 6, we also saw that we had 6 2 times. That's really 6 plus 6 to still equal 12. We could also write that as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 still equals 12. And we could still write that 2 by 6 or 2 times 6 because we saw 2 6 times. For our 3 by 4, we could write that we saw our 3 rows 4 times 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12. That's the same as writing 3 times 4 because we saw 3 4 times. We could also write that we saw 4 3 times because we had 4 columns of 3. That also equals 12. And that sure is the same as 4 times 3. We saw those 4 columns 3 times. Now let's have a look at some of the equations you could have written for your other rectangles from the other day. Let's see if your equations match mine. So let's think of an equation for 1 by 7, our 1 by 7 rectangle. We could have written that we had 7 for our one row of 7 plus 0 to equal 7. And you could have wrote 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 7. But that might have taken you a long time, so you may have chosen to just write 1 times 7 to save a little time. For our rectangle made of 8 tiles, you could have written some equations that look like this to show our 4 columns of 2 tiles equals 8, or our 2 rows of 4 tiles to equal 8. You could have also just written 2 times 4 to show that 2 rows of 4 is the same as 8. For our long skinny rectangle of 8 tiles, you could have written 8 plus 0 equals 8, or 1 times 8. And for our last 2 rectangles with 9 tiles, you could have written 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9 for our 3 by 3 rectangle, or 3 times 3. We see 3 rows of 3, or 9 plus 0 equals 9 for our 1 by 9 rectangle, because we have that row of 9 and then no more, or 9 times 1 for our 1 row of 9. Good thinking today, mathematicians. Your job is to show your teacher your thinking and your hard work by taking a picture of this page and putting it in Seesaw. And I will see you next time for Number Corner.